English teachers, learner autonomy. What is it all about and how can you use it in the classroom? Let's go. Learner autonomy was first discussed in English teaching over 30 years ago and has been talked a lot about by academics. So I'm going to explain this powerful tool that will boost your teaching and make your students better learners. It's about learners taking responsibility for their own learning, both what they learn and how they learn it. Now, as a teacher, don't worry that you may be losing control of your students. You're not, because by guiding them to be better, more independent learners, you're helping them. And without you, they would not be able to do any of this. You're very much in charge of the whole process. You, as the teacher, will be encouraging your students to find ways of learning that suits them, what works for them and means something for them. So therefore you'll improve the quality and the results of their language learning. You will guide students to work outside the classroom too, to build on their English. So you teachers are incredibly important for learner autonomy. It just can't be done without you. It is you, the teachers, who will help and guide your students in doing this. Show them the way. You're the leader, the director, and the empowerer. By creating autonomous learners, you'll help them think critically about their learning and understand what they need to do to improve. Now, research has shown that good learners are autonomous and successful people are autonomous as well. And this skill starts at the age of 11. So doing this at school, helping them at that age, is the perfect time. And you can build all this into your lessons. Even if you have to follow a course book, which I know many of you have to do, you can still help your students to be autonomous learners. So how can you do this in the classroom? Well, there are lots of ways that you can engage your students in their learning with resources, technology, different classroom relationships, and so on. But the most important thing to do is to raise your students' awareness of their learning. How do you do this? Well, every lesson or every week, whatever is right for you and your class, get your students to write down the answers to these questions. What have you learnt? What have you found easiest? What have you found most difficult? What do you think you could do to improve? So already they're becoming aware of where they are in the learning process. They're more active in their own learning. And as a teacher, you can tell them what you'll be doing in the lesson and why they're doing it. It helps them to understand the learning path that they're following. Then at the end of the lesson, get the students to share what they've learnt with the rest of the class and get them to reflect on what they've done and why they chose that activity. Your students will love your lessons. Now, learning English inside school is clearly a great start, but to really develop, students need to get into the habit of taking their English outside the classroom. Learning English outside class with your guidance as the teacher will benefit them hugely in terms of their English development and in terms of their skills for life. Now, the internet also means that anyone can find any information, so get them to research things on the internet at home. And digital tools also mean there are lots more opportunities to be more independent as a learner. Control over their own learning, and you as the teacher guide them to do this. So, for example, a reading project. Why not give your students reading projects? Get the students to find something they actually want to read. It could be a book or it could be something online. Then get them to set personal goals on how much reading they're going to do or when they're going to read. You could even get them to focus on a particular language feature or maybe to find new vocabulary. Also, you need to get them to think about what's good about reading, how they feel they're improving their English when they're reading. It's up to you, of course. The second thing is also, why not give them speaking projects? Why not get your students to create their own English clubs with their friends after school? Let's say they have to talk English on 2 lunchtimes a week or 1 evening after school a week, for example. Writing projects. A great way to get them to reflect on their English is to get your students to write learner diaries in English. Or they could also write a normal diary of what they've done each day, but in English. Experiment project. The goal is to encourage your students to experiment with different out-of-class activities that they do in their free time. At the beginning of class, get your students to talk about what they've tried doing, why they chose that particular thing, how they benefited, what they enjoyed, and what they're thinking of doing next. It could be a nice little warmer into your class.
What?
Sure.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is the Wizard of Wiz, if ever a Wiz there was. If ever, oh, ever a Wiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.